For over a decade, the Carol Burnett Show reigned as one of the greatest comedy programs in television history. Every Saturday night, millions of Americans gathered around their TVs to laugh at the unforgettable sketches, the brilliant slapstick, and the unmatched chemistry of Carol Burnett and her team. And at the heart of that ensemble was Harvey Korman, her sharp-witted, versatile sidekick whose comedic timing was second to none. Together, they became an unstoppable duo, a partnership that defined an era of comedy. But behind the laughter, there were cracks in the relationship. For all his talent, Harvey Korman was known to be difficult, sometimes arrogant, and often testing the patience of even his closest collaborators. Carol Burnett, though beloved for her warmth and kindness, was also a professional who valued respect and discipline on her set. And one day, Harvey pushed things too far. What happened between them was shocking, so much so that Carol made a decision few expected. At 92, she finally looked back and revealed the moment she had no choice but to fire Harvey Korman from the show. Fans who adored their on-screen chemistry were left stunned, realizing the tension that brewed behind the curtain. So, what exactly happened that drove America's most beloved comedian to dismiss her closest collaborator? And how did it change the future of the Carol Burnett Show forever? When the Carol Burnett Show first aired in 1967, no one could have predicted that it would become one of the most iconic comedy programs in television history. At the center of its success was Carol Burnett herself, a trailblazing woman who broke barriers in the male-dominated world of sketch comedy. With her natural charm, impeccable timing, and ability to connect with her audience, Burnett quickly became a household name. But as brilliant as she was, she knew she couldn't carry the show alone. She needed a strong ensemble cast to bring her comedic vision to life. Enter Harvey Korman. Already a seasoned performer, Korman had a knack for slipping into characters with a mix of absurdity and elegance. His ability to make people laugh by simply raising an eyebrow or struggling to keep a straight face was unmatched. When paired with Carol, something magical happened. Their chemistry was undeniable. Together, they delivered some of the most memorable sketches in television history. From parodies of soap operas to slapstick routines that left audiences in stitches, Korman wasn't just a sidekick, he was an integral part of the show's heartbeat. His towering presence and booming voice gave Carol the perfect foil. When she played sweet, naive, or eccentric characters, Harvey was often the pompous authority figure or straight man who set up the punchline. The balance was perfect, and the audience adored them. One of their most famous sketches, the parody "Went with the Wind," a hilarious spoof of Gone with the Wind, showed exactly why the duo worked so well. Carol's comedic bravado, paired with Harvey's exaggerated seriousness, created a comedic masterpiece still celebrated today. In another recurring sketch, The Family, Harvey played the long-suffering husband to Carol's character Eunice, a dysfunctional Southern woman with big dreams and a bigger temper. Audiences couldn't get enough of their biting back-and-forth exchanges, but what many fans didn't realize was how much Carol worked behind the scenes to hold everything together. She wasn't just the star, she was also the leader. She demanded professionalism and respect from her cast and crew. And while Harvey was brilliant on screen, off-screen he could be temperamental. Some described him as moody, sometimes arrogant, and often difficult to direct. Still, Carol valued his talent so highly that she was willing to put up with his quirks, at least for a time. Their partnership wasn't just about work. It was about trust. Carol gave Harvey the space to shine, and in turn, Harvey elevated Carol's comedy. It was this synergy that made the show unstoppable. Critics praised the ensemble, fans adored them, and awards flooded in. Over the years, the show won 25 Emmy Awards, cementing its place in television history. Yet, as strong as their bond seemed, tension was simmering beneath the surface. Harvey's ego sometimes got the best of him, and Carol, though patient, wasn't afraid to stand her ground when pushed too far. She valued loyalty and professionalism above everything, and Harvey's behavior would eventually cross a line that even their golden partnership couldn't survive. But in these early years, before conflict boiled over, Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman were nothing short of television royalty. Together, they defined an era of comedy that would never be forgotten. To audiences at home, Harvey Korman seemed like the perfect comedic partner, charming, versatile, and endlessly funny. But behind the scenes of the Carol Burnett Show, Harvey's personality sometimes proved difficult for those who worked with him day in and day out. Carol Burnett herself, despite her reputation for kindness and patience, began to notice cracks in the partnership that once seemed unshakable. Harvey was undeniably brilliant, but he could also be temperamental. Crew members and fellow castmates later admitted that he was prone to mood swings. Some days he would walk onto the set ready to deliver a performance that would have everyone doubled over with laughter. Other days he was distant, brooding, and quick to snap at those around him. This unpredictability made it hard to maintain the light, fun environment Carol tried so carefully to cultivate. One of the recurring issues was Harvey's ego. He knew he was funny, sometimes too well. There were moments when he resented not being the star of the show. Though Carol always gave her cast members space to shine, it was, at the end of the day, the Carol Burnett Show. Carol's name was on the title, and her face was the one most associated with its success. Harvey occasionally let his frustrations boil over, grumbling about sketches he thought gave him too little screen time or being visibly irritated when Carol or Tim Conway stole the spotlight with improvised bits. Tim Conway, who joined the show later, was especially notorious for breaking Harvey during sketches. Audiences loved watching Harvey struggle to hold back laughter as Tim went off script, but Harvey sometimes found it embarrassing. Carol saw the audience's joy in these unscripted moments, but Harvey, ever the perfectionist, sometimes bristled at being the butt of the joke. Then there was his treatment of the crew. Carol, a consummate professional, believed in respecting everyone on set, from co-stars to stagehands. She ran the show like a family, fostering loyalty and warmth. But Harvey didn't always share her attitude. Some crew members quietly complained that he could be dismissive, even rude, when things didn't go his way. Carol began to worry, not just about the impact on morale, but about how his behavior might eventually affect the quality of the show. The tension was compounded by Harvey's personal life. Divorces, financial troubles, and struggles with self-confidence all weighed on him during the show's run. These stresses sometimes spilled over into his work, making him even more irritable. Carol, who had a deep well of compassion, tried to be patient. She understood that Harvey was complicated, and she valued his contributions too much to let go easily, but patience has its limits. Carol wasn't just Harvey's co-star, she was the captain of the ship. The show's success depended on harmony, professionalism, and respect, and Harvey was increasingly testing all three. Still, through all the tension, audiences remained blissfully unaware. On screen, Carol and Harvey continued to deliver brilliance. They danced, they argued, they played outrageous characters, and they made millions laugh every week. But behind the curtain, Carol was quietly reaching her breaking point. The question was no longer whether Harvey was talented. Everyone knew he was. The question was how long Carol could tolerate his behavior before it jeopardized the show she had worked so hard to build. And when one explosive incident finally happened, Carol made a decision that stunned both Harvey and the entire production team. For years, Carol Burnett tolerated Harvey Korman's mood swings and difficult behavior because she valued his immense talent. His comedic genius was undeniable, and the chemistry between them was one of the main reasons the Carol Burnett Show became a Saturday night staple. But eventually, Harvey went too far. The incident, as Carol later recounted in interviews, happened during the peak of the show's popularity. It began like any other day on set. The writers had crafted a sketch that gave Harvey a major role, one where his exaggerated expressions and booming delivery would be at the center of the laughs. But something went wrong before cameras rolled. Harvey walked into rehearsal clearly irritated, his temper already on edge. Instead of working through the material, he started lashing out, snapping at crew members, rolling his eyes at direction, and making sarcastic remarks that dampened the mood in the studio. Carol, who had always maintained a professional and respectful atmosphere, tried to diffuse the situation with her trademark humor. But Harvey wasn't in the mood to laugh. He continued grumbling, dismissing the sketch as garbage, and openly criticizing the writers. For Carol, this wasn't just about bad behavior. It was about respect. The show's writers were a tight-knit team who worked tirelessly, and Carol had always defended them fiercely. The breaking point came when Harvey's frustration spilled over in front of the entire crew. In a fit of irritation, he snapped at one of the stagehands, a young member of the team who was simply trying to do his job. The room went silent. Carol, usually warm and gentle, suddenly turned serious. She walked right. The cast and crew were shocked. Carol Burnett, the woman known for her kindness and generosity, had just dismissed her most important cast member on the spot. Harvey, caught completely off guard, tried to brush it off as a joke. But Carol wasn't joking. She had reached her limit. The silence that followed was heavy. For years, people had whispered about Harvey's temper, but few ever imagined Carol would actually take action. And yet, in that moment, she proved that no one, not even the show's biggest star outside of herself, was above the values she demanded on her set: respect, professionalism, and kindness. Harvey left the set humiliated. For several days, it looked like the partnership that had defined the Carol Burnett Show was over. Some crew members wondered if the show itself might be in jeopardy. After all, Harvey Korman wasn't just another cast member, he was the backbone of many of the show's most beloved sketches. But Carol stood firm. She had made her decision and she wasn't going to back down. If Harvey wanted to return, he would have to change his behavior and prove that he could respect the people around him. That incident marked a turning point. It was the moment Carol Burnett demonstrated that her kindness had limits and that even comedy's greatest talents could be held accountable. Harvey, humbled and shaken, soon realized that if he wanted to continue working alongside Carol, he would have to earn his place back. When Carol Burnett told Harvey Korman he was fired, the ripple effect was immediate. Cast and crew members were stunned, not only because Harvey was such a central part of the show, but also because Carol had always been seen as endlessly patient and forgiving. For her to put her foot down so firmly was a rare, unforgettable moment. In the days that followed, speculation ran wild. Could the Carol Burnett Show even survive without Harvey? Would ratings plummet without the hilarious banter between Carol and her longtime partner in comedy? Behind the scenes, Carol herself wrestled with those same questions. She admired Harvey's talent deeply, but she refused to compromise the respectful, family-like environment she had worked so hard to build. To her, no single performer was worth sacrificing the integrity of the show. But here's where the story takes a turn. Harvey didn't just walk away for good. After the dust settled, he realized that Carol wasn't playing games. Her decision wasn't a publicity stunt or a bluff. It was a genuine stand for respect. Humbled, Harvey came back to Carol privately and apologized. He admitted he had let his temper and ego get the better of him, and he promised to change. Carol, ever the compassionate leader, didn't slam the door on him. Instead, she gave him a second chance, on one condition: he had to treat everyone on the set with the same respect he gave her. Harvey agreed, and slowly he rebuilt his standing with the cast and crew. From that point on, though he still had his moments, Harvey worked harder at managing his moods. This reconciliation marked a new chapter for both Carol and Harvey. Their on-screen partnership became even stronger because now it was grounded not just in chemistry but in mutual respect. Carol's decision to fire him had sent a clear message, not only to Harvey, but to everyone watching. Talent may win you a place on stage, but character is what keeps you there. Interestingly, Carol would later reflect on that firing as one of the toughest but most necessary decisions of her career. She admitted that she loved Harvey like family, but just as in any family, there were moments when discipline was required. By setting boundaries, she had actually saved their working relationship instead of destroying it. Audiences, of course, never knew the full drama unfolding behind the curtain. They continued to laugh at the pair's unforgettable sketches, blissfully unaware of the storm that had nearly ended their partnership. Harvey remained on The Carol Burnett Show until its finale in 1978, and in the years after, both he and Carol spoke fondly of each other in interviews. Harvey even credited Carol with teaching him invaluable lessons about humility and respect. Looking back at '92, Carol Burnett's account of that day serves as more than just a story about workplace conflict. It's a reminder of her quiet strength. Though she built her legacy on laughter and kindness, she also knew when to take a stand. And by doing so, she not only preserved her show's success, but also helped Harvey Korman grow into a better colleague and friend. In the end, the firing wasn't the end of their partnership. It was the turning point that made it stronger. And it proved that even in comedy, respect is no laughing matter.